everybody. Today I'm going to make a recipe that's super easy and hopefully will save you some money and also some waste. I used to always buy tortilla shells in the grocery store, and they used to come in packs of like 10, or if you got the small ones, they'd come in packs of sometimes like 15. However, every time I'd buy them, there was always more than I needed. So often I'd throw them in the freezer, and then when I'd go to bring them out again and thaw them, they'd all stick together. They'd just be a mess. So I discovered a while back, it's so easy to just make them. And then you can make just the amount that you need. You don't have to make 10 or whatever. You can just make what you need. Nothing gets wasted. And they're very, very inexpensive to make. So that's what I'm going to make today. My recipe is super simple. It's the ingredients you're going to need are white flour. Now you can do half white and half whole wheat if you choose to. I prefer just white flour for tortilla shells. We're going to need some olive oil or lard. I prefer olive oil, so that's my choice. Salt, baking powder, and water, and that's it. So super simple, and most of us have those things in our pantry already. It's not like you have to run out and buy anything. So we're going to start. The recipe I have is to make 10 to 12 tortillas, and I only want to make 5. I'm going to use them in another dish, which I will do a further video on later, using leftover meat from a meal we had yesterday. So I'm going to start by using 2 cups of flour. Just finishing up this bag here. It's almost done. So, like I said, I'm cutting this recipe in half. Normally, if you were making 10 to 12 tortillas, you would use 4 cups of flour. And like I said, you could do 2 white, or 2 whole wheat, or 4 of just one kind. So we have there we are. So 2 cups of white flour. I'm going to use 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. Three-quarters of a teaspoon of baking powder. Now the baking powder is optional. You don't have to use it, but I like it. I like it to have a little bit of a lift to it. And we want 1/6 of a cup of olive oil or lard. And I'm just gonna kind of eyeball this because and we need 1/2 cup plus 2 tablespoons of water. Okay, that's everything. Now we're gonna turn this up. You can use just a pastry blender. I'm gonna use my kneading hook because that's what I like to use, and you have to knead this anyway. So I'm just gonna use it right from the start. They recommend you knead for 10 minutes once you've got it stirred. So 10 minutes is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to drag you through all of that. So we'll just come back after this is kneaded. Well, we've got the dough all kneaded. So it just forms like a nice little ball. We're going to take that, we're going to divide it into 5 different equally sized balls or pieces. That's a little tricky, but you know, we'll do our best. 1, 2, 3. Close enough. We got 5 here. They may not be perfectly even, but they'll do the trick. So what I did is I've sprinkled a little bit of flour on my countertop, and I have turned my burner on, hopefully not too high. I don't want to burn them. We just want to get them so that they have some nice little brown spots form on them, where they're not seared, but where they're cooked nice. We don't want them doughy. So I'm going to take these, I'm going to roll them out, and then I'm going to throw them in the skillet that's hot with no oil, and I'm going to set them aside. So I will show you when they're done here. Some people like to roll them out onto parchment paper, but I like just using the counter. I'm comfortable doing that. I do make a mess on occasion, but since I'm the one that has to clean it up, that's okay. And they don't have to be perfect. They just have to be somewhat of a circle. I like to have them nice and thin. Okay, we've got our first one here. Now I'm just going to throw it in the pan, and you kind of have to really watch these. You can't, it's not like you can move on to the next one while the one is cooking. You really do have to watch them. They recommend you put them on perhaps 30 seconds each side, up to 2 minutes each side. Just depends on your skillet, how hot it gets. So I'm going to cook this one. Just put some more flour down here so I can start the next one as soon as this one's ready. We'll take a look at it. Yeah, it's not quite ready. I'm going to turn the heat up a little bit on this. I didn't want to turn it too high in case I burnt it. So it's up to medium high right now. All right, while that's doing that, I'm just gonna start this second one here. Got some flour for my rolling pin. Let's check this. Nope, not quite ready yet. I probably should have turned the heat on a little bit sooner, but another thing you can do with these, I have done, is you know, depending on what you're going to use them for, you can throw in a little bit of basil, you can throw in some garlic into the actual dough while you're mixing it, you know, just to give it a little bit extra flavor. Turn that up even a little more, just for extra flavor, depending on what you're using them for. In this case, for the recipe that I'm using them, I just want them plain. But if you grow your own herbs, it's always nice to pull stuff from the garden that you can either have dried and use or use fresh, just grind up. Okay, let's check on this one. flip it over one more time, and then it should be ready. They come off nice and smooth if you have enough flour on the countertop or a rolling board or whatever it is you're going to use. Just about ready. You want it so that the skillet's hot, but it's not like, you know, burning hot. Otherwise you put it in there and right away you get some black on it, and it kind of defeats the purpose of cooking it right. So, okay, I'm going to show you this. You can see where it's got the brown spots on it. That's how you know it's done on each side. As long as you got those on each side, you're good to go. So we're going to throw this second one in here now. And we'll roll out the third. This is also something you could do with your grandkids or your kids. You know, you can use these tortilla shells for tortillas, for fajitas, for what I'm going to use them for, which I will do in another video. But they're so versatile. You can use them for so many things. I've used them and made scrambled eggs in them with you know, green onions and red peppers, tomatoes, and they're delicious. You just do scrambled eggs. After you've fried your veggies, you just scramble your eggs, throw them in and into one of these shells, and man, they're awesome. They're a really nice breakfast. Kind of like a breakfast burrito, kind of, without the meat. You can also add meat too. You could add sausage, really whatever you wanted to. Good. It's cooking a little better now that the heat's up. And again, you know, this is another easy thing to do, very, very inexpensive, and a great thing to do if you have company. You want to make, you know, a meal go far. You could cook up some ground beef and make some fajitas with vegetables that you have from your garden or vegetables that you've frozen, and very inexpensive. Okay, here we go. We've got our second one here. Perfect. I got a little bit of rolling to do to catch up. Geez, this one's turning more like a triangle than a circle. Time to add a little bit more flour to the countertop. It's getting a little iffy now. Let that one cook. Roll this one out a little bit more. It's a little bit thick still. Give this a flip. Yeah, once that pan gets good and hot, you really do have to watch it. Okay, so we've got another one ready here, and we'll work on our fifth one. The key is to find things to make that are inexpensive. With all the food shortages that we're being warned about, the high cost of food going up, we're going to have to be really creative and find things that we can do that are not going to be that expensive, and that will stretch and go, you know, go a ways. And with these tortilla shells, they're perfect to use with using up leftover stuff. They're just great for that. So nothing gets wasted. All right, let's get this fourth one in there. And we'll finish rolling out this fifth and we're done. If any of you out there make your own tortilla shells, tell me what you use them for, besides the obvious tortillas and fajitas. What other things do you use them for? Do you do like the breakfast burrito type of food like I do, or is there any other creative things that you'd like to share that would be nice for other people to learn to do too? I'm always up for learning new recipes or ways to use things. Oops, I think I almost, ooh, that was a close call. Almost burnt that one. I better turn this down a wee bit. We've got one more to go and we're done. Okay. Now I'll throw this last one in here. See, quick, the longest thing is just letting it knead for 10 minutes. And I mean, you probably don't have to let it knead for 10 minutes, but I like the texture of the dough if you do. Works best for me. So we will just finish this one up and I will give you a glance at what they look like and we'll wrap it up. I can pretty much turn that off now because it's going to cook just in its own heat. Oh, covered in flour. What's a recipe without getting some flour on you? At least in my house. Good, perfect. All right. So we've got our tortilla shells, and in my next video I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do with these shells. Stay tuned.